Sometimes the people you bring into this world, the ones you love more than life itself, can shatter your entire existence with just 5 cruel words. You're useless, Margaret. Get out. Those words, spoken by my own daughter, Victoria, as I stood there, a grieving widow barely a week after burying my beloved Robert, echoed through my soul like a death knell. She thought she had won. She thought she had taken everything, leaving me broken and alone on the street. But what she didn't know was that her insatiable greed had just lit a fire in me, a cold, unwavering resolve that would ensure she and her conniving husband, Kevin, would very soon deeply regret the day they decided to cross me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is. Where you are now, it truly helps me understand where my stories are reaching. My life with Robert, for 43 beautiful years, had been a tapestry woven with love, routine, and a quiet sort of prosperity. We lived in our beautiful home at 847 Oakwood Drive, a house filled with memories of laughter, holidays, and the gentle rhythm of a shared life. Robert was a man of habit, meticulous to a fault, a quality I'd always cherished. Every bill paid on time, every document filed precisely, every detail accounted for. He had a dry wit, a gentle smile, and a steadfast heart. He was my rock, my partner, my everything. I was the homemaker, the gardener, the one who made sure our world ran smoothly, content in my role, always supporting his endeavors. Our daughter, Victoria, had grown up in that home, given every advantage, every opportunity. We wanted nothing but the best for her, showering her with affection and support, even as she blossomed into an adult with a certain demanding nature. We'd always made allowances, attributing it to youthful ambition, a strong will, but looking back, I see now it was a fundamental flaw, a deep-seated entitlement that we perhaps unknowingly fostered. When Robert passed away suddenly from a massive heart attack, it felt as though the very air had been sucked from my lungs. The world went gray. The funeral was a blur of sympathetic faces and hushed condolences. I barely registered the food, the flowers, the kind words. All I knew was an aching, cavernous emptiness where Robert used to be. I was lost, utterly adrift. It was just days after the funeral, while I was still swimming in that ocean of grief, that the nightmare truly began. Victoria, with her husband Kevin, an investment banker whose slick charm always felt a little too practiced, arrived at the house. They didn't come to offer comfort, to help me sort through Robert's things, or even to share in my sorrow. No, they came with papers. They stood in Robert's study, the room where he'd spent countless hours, surrounded by his books and his quiet contemplation, and Victoria's face, usually so expressive, was cold, almost predatory. "Mother," she began, her voice devoid of any warmth, "we need to talk about the house and Robert's estate." I remember the chill that ran down my spine, an instinct screaming that something was terribly wrong. I was still in my black morning dress, my eyes red and swollen. "What about it, dear?" I asked, my voice thin, weary. Kevin stepped forward then, a glint in his eye I now recognize as pure avarice. "Margaret," he said, using my first name as if we were business associates, "Robert's will has been probated. Victoria is the sole beneficiary." He slid a document across the polished surface of Robert's antique desk, a document I barely glanced at, my mind still reeling. "The house, all assets, everything. It's all hers." I stared at Victoria, my precious daughter, searching for a flicker of compassion, a hint of remorse. There was none. "What about me?" I whispered, the words catching in my throat. Victoria sighed, an impatient, dismissive sound. "Well, Mother, you're not mentioned. Apparently, Robert changed his will shortly before he passed. It seems he intended for you to be taken care of by me." She offered a saccharine smile that didn't reach her eyes. "But, as you know, running a household is expensive, and you don't really contribute financially anymore. Kevin and I need the house, it's closer to our jobs, and frankly, we need the capital from the other assets. So we've decided it's best if you move out by the end of the week." My mind went blank. Move out? From my home of over 4 decades? Robert, my meticulous, loving Robert, would never have done such a thing. He wouldn't have left me with nothing. But this is my home, I stammered, tears welling up again. Victoria's face hardened. It's my home now, Mother. Robert left it to me. And frankly, you're just useless. You always were. A drain. I've arranged for a small sum for you to get started elsewhere. She then pressed a crisp $200 bill into my trembling hand. $200. For 43 years of my life, for my devotion, for bearing his child, for mourning his death, I was offered $200 and told to leave. The sheer audacity, the cold-blooded cruelty, was a physical blow. Kevin stood silently, nodding in agreement, a smirk playing on his lips. My heart didn't just break, it shattered into a million irreparable pieces. I felt a humiliation so profound it eclipsed even my grief. With nowhere to go, no savings of my own, and no family to turn to, I found myself checking into the cheapest, most depressing motel I could find, the aptly named Sunset Inn, a place where dreams went to die. The walls were thin, the carpet stained, and the stale smell of desperation clung to everything. As I lay awake in that unfamiliar, lumpy bed, staring at the peeling paint on the ceiling, the tears finally dried. What replaced them was a searing, white-hot anger. Robert, my Robert, would never have left me destitute. His meticulous nature, his unwavering love, contradicted every word Victoria had spoken. This wasn't grief anymore. This was war. I had to fight. For Robert's memory, for my dignity, for my life. The next morning, armed with nothing but my gut instinct and that paltry $200, I started to think. Robert had an attorney, Harrison Fitzgerald, a kind, older gentleman who had handled all our legal affairs for years. If anyone knew the truth, it would be Harrison. I called his office, my voice still shaky but imbued with a new resolve. Harrison was shocked by my story. He immediately agreed to see me, sitting in his plush office, surrounded by the scent of old leather and legal tomes. I recounted Victoria's actions. Harrison listened patiently, his brow furrowed with concern. "Margaret, this doesn't sound like Robert at all," he said, confirming my deepest suspicions. He then excused himself, returning a few minutes later with a file. "Robert had a very specific, carefully constructed will," he began, his voice firm, "and I assure you, it was very much in your favor." My heart pounded. He explained that Robert had, in fact, updated his will just months before his passing, but not in the way Victoria claimed. The true will explicitly left our home at 847 Oakwood Drive to me, along with a staggering 70% of his total assets, amounting to approximately $23 million. Victoria was indeed mentioned, Harrison continued, his voice heavy with what sounded like suppressed anger. Robert had left her a substantial $10 million, but with a crucial, unequivocal condition. Her inheritance was entirely contingent upon her treating her mother, me, with respect, dignity, and care. If she failed in this, her entire share would revert to my portion of the estate. Harrison's words hit me like a revelation, each one a hammer blow to Victoria's brazen lies. Robert, my dear Robert, had known. He had known his daughter's true nature, her potential for greed, and he had protected me, even from beyond the grave. Victoria, by her own callous words and actions, had not only forfeited her $10 million, but she had increased my inheritance to a breathtaking $33 million. And the will she had shown me, a blatant forgery, a cruel, despicable fabrication. The transformation was complete. The grieving widow was gone, replaced by a woman fueled by a righteous fury and a clear mission. Operation Justice, Harrison called it, and I embraced the name with a cold, steely determination. We wasted no time. Harrison immediately contacted the authorities, presenting Robert's authentic will and the irrefutable evidence of Victoria's fraud. Detective Rodriguez, a no-nonsense officer, was assigned to the case. Her initial investigations quickly confirmed Victoria and Kevin's deception. Their bank accounts were frozen, and warrants were issued for their arrest. But I wanted more than just a legal victory. I wanted them to understand the depth of their betrayal, to see the pain they had caused. Harrison had an idea. Robert, ever the planner, had recorded a video message, intended to be played only if there were disputes over his will. It was a failsafe, a testament to his foresight and his quiet understanding of Victoria's character. We decided it would be the perfect tool for their confrontation. The day of their arrest was surreal. Detective Rodriguez, Harrison, and I went to Oakwood Drive, our home. Victoria and Kevin were there, flustered and indignant about their frozen accounts, still convinced they held all the cards. When Detective Rodriguez informed them of the real will and the fraud charges, their faces twisted with disbelief and then outright panic. That's when I stepped forward, holding a tablet with Robert's pre-recorded message already cued. "Victoria," I said, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil within me. "You told me I was useless. You threw me out of my home. You forged my husband's will." I then pressed play. Robert's familiar, gentle face appeared on the screen, his voice calm, rational, but imbued with a profound sadness. "Victoria," he began, looking directly at the camera as if speaking to her alone. "My dear daughter, I loved you. Your mother and I gave you everything. But I always saw the avarice in you, the desire for wealth above all else. This will, my true will, was designed to protect your mother, to ensure she was always cared for, and to offer you a chance to prove that familial love was more important than money. Your inheritance was contingent on your respect for your mother." "Victoria," I said, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil within me. "You told me I was useless. You threw me out of my home. You forged my husband's will." I then pressed play. Robert's familiar, gentle face appeared on the screen, his voice calm, rational, but imbued with a profound sadness. "Victoria," he began, looking directly at the camera as if speaking to her alone. "My dear daughter, I loved you. Your mother and I gave you everything. But I always saw the avarice in you, the desire for wealth above all else. This will, my true will, was designed to protect your mother, to ensure she was always cared for, and to offer you a chance to prove that familial love was more important than money. Your inheritance was contingent on your respect for your mother. Your actions, should they prove as greedy as I fear, will forfeit everything to her. You made your choice. Live with it." The message ended, and the silence in the room was deafening. Victoria's face was ashen, her jaw hanging open, utterly broken by the undeniable truth of her father's words. Kevin beside her looked like a cornered rat. Detective Rodriguez then formally arrested them. Watching them led away in handcuffs, my heart felt a strange mix of vindication and profound sorrow. They had brought this upon themselves. But the story wasn't over. Victoria and Kevin, facing serious fraud charges, weren't going down without a fight. Just as we thought the dust was settling, Eleanor Hayes, Kevin's mother, a woman dripping with old money and an even older sense of entitlement, tried to intervene. She contacted Harrison, and then me directly, attempting to bribe me to drop the charges against her son and Victoria. Her veiled threats, however, were what truly caught my attention. "Robert wasn't as clean as you think, Margaret," she'd sneered over the phone, her voice dripping with venom. "There are secrets in his business dealings, things that could unravel everything, things that could make your precious inheritance disappear." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. Robert, a criminal? It seemed impossible. But her conviction was unsettling. I immediately reported the attempted bribery and her unsettling hints to Detective Rodriguez and Harrison. This new layer of complexity required a different kind of investigation. I knew I couldn't trust Kevin or Victoria, but I also couldn't ignore the possibility that Eleanor was speaking some twisted version of the truth. With Harrison's recommendation, I hired a private investigator, Carol Chen, a sharp, discreet woman with an uncanny ability to dig into the past. Carol's investigation was thorough, and what she uncovered turned my world upside down yet again. Robert, my meticulous, upright Robert, had indeed been involved in something illicit. He was running a sophisticated money laundering operation for a notorious crime family, the Torino family. The evidence was overwhelming. Shell corporations, offshore accounts, coded communications. It painted a picture of a man I barely recognized, a man leading a dangerous double life. My beautiful inheritance, my $33 million, was tainted money. The shock, the betrayal, the sheer audacity of it all was almost unbearable. My husband, the man I thought I knew, a criminal? This new revelation provided Victoria and Kevin with exactly the leverage they needed. They immediately approached the prosecutor, offering to reveal all details of Robert's money laundering operation in exchange for immunity for themselves, and a plea deal that would severely reduce their sentences for the fraud. If they succeeded, not only would I lose the bulk of my inheritance, now labeled as proceeds of crime, but I could potentially face charges myself for complicity or for benefiting from illicit funds. I was caught between a rock and a hard place. They thought they had me. They thought I would crumble, that I would sacrifice my newfound justice for fear of losing the money and my own freedom. But they underestimated me. Yet again, I was no longer the naive Margaret who wept in a motel room. The taste of betrayal was too bitter, the fight for justice too deeply ingrained. I refused to be manipulated. I made a choice that stunned even Harrison. I would voluntarily confess everything I knew about Robert's activities to the FBI. It was a terrifying step, one that risked everything, but it was the only way to truly reclaim my integrity and ensure Victoria and Kevin received the full measure of justice they deserved. Harrison arranged the meeting with the FBI. Agent Sarah Martinez, a woman with sharp, intelligent eyes and an air of quiet authority, listened intently as I laid out the entire convoluted story. Victoria's fraud, Robert's true will, the money laundering, Eleanor's attempted bribery, and Victoria and Kevin's blackmail attempt. The room was tense, the air thick with the gravity of my confession. When I finished, Agent Martinez leaned forward, a subtle smile playing on her lips. "Mrs. Sullivan," she said, her voice calm, "I commend your bravery and your honesty. You've walked into a very complex situation with immense integrity." She paused, letting the words hang in the air, then delivered the final, most breathtaking twist of all. "What you've uncovered about Robert's money laundering operations is, in fact, correct. However, you're missing a critical piece of information. Robert Sullivan wasn't a criminal, Mrs. Sullivan. He was one of ours. Robert was a deep cover informant for the FBI for 12 years, working against the very Torino crime family he appeared to serve. All the laundered earnings, the funds that appear illicit, were, in fact, legitimate payments from the FBI disguised to maintain his cover. Your inheritance, Mrs. Sullivan, is not tainted. It is entirely clean and legally yours." I stared at her, my mind reeling. Robert, an FBI informant? For 12 years? My meticulous, quiet husband had been living a life more thrilling and dangerous than any spy novel. He wasn't just protecting me from Victoria. He was protecting me from a world of organized crime, from the very information Eleanor and Victoria now tried to use against me. The revelation was staggering, the ultimate validation of the man I loved, and the final crushing blow to Victoria and Kevin's attempts at a plea deal. Agent Martinez then outlined the plan. We would stage a final confrontation. I would wear a wire. Victoria and Kevin, still believing they held the upper hand with their damning information about Robert, would attempt to extort me, to coerce me into dropping the charges and giving them immunity. It would provide irrefutable evidence of attempted extortion and witness intimidation, federal crimes that would seal their fate. The meeting took place in Harrison's office, a neutral ground, but the atmosphere was anything but. Victoria and Kevin arrived, still radiating a smug confidence, unaware that their game was utterly over. I sat across from them, my heart pounding, but my face a mask of calm. The tiny wire beneath my blouse felt like a secret weapon. "So, Mother," Victoria began, her eyes glinting with what she thought was triumph, "have you thought about our offer? Drop the charges, ensure our immunity, and we keep quiet about Dad's extracurricular activities." Kevin chimed in. "It's really your only choice, Margaret. We go down, you go down with us, you lose everything. The FBI won't look kindly on you sitting on millions of dirty money." I looked at them, truly looked at them, and saw two pathetic, greedy individuals, entirely devoid of moral compass. I smiled, a genuine, serene smile. "Victoria, Kevin," I said, my voice clear and steady, "you've underestimated me at every turn. You threw me out of my home with $200. You forged my husband's will. You tried to bribe me. And now you're attempting to extort me over information you don't even understand." I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in, watching their smug expressions falter. My husband, Robert, was not a money launderer. He was a hero. He was a deep-cover FBI informant for 12 years. And every penny of my inheritance is legitimate, clean, and legally mine. You have nothing on me. And you, my dear daughter, and your accomplice husband have just committed federal crimes of attempted extortion and witness intimidation on tape. The color drained from their faces as Harrison stepped in, followed by Agent Martinez and two federal agents who had been waiting in an adjacent room. Their expressions of shock, horror, and utter defeat were priceless. They were arrested right there, their world crumbling around them for the final time. 6 months later, my life is unrecognizable, yet profoundly mine. Victoria and Kevin Hayes are serving their 18-month sentences in federal prison for wire fraud, elder abuse, attempted extortion of a federal witness, and forgery. Robert's name has been posthumously cleared, his legacy as a brave FBI informant revealed to those who needed to know. The house at 847 Oakwood Drive is no longer just a house. It's my sanctuary. I've renovated it, not to erase the past, but to embrace the future. Robert's study, once a place of quiet contemplation, is now my vibrant art studio, filled with canvases and colors, a testament to my newfound creative spirit. With the $33 million, I haven't just indulged myself, I've found a new purpose. I've established the Margaret Sullivan Foundation for Elder Protection, providing legal aid and advocating for legislative changes to protect seniors from the very kind of abuse Victoria inflicted upon me. The foundation has already helped countless families, giving me a profound sense of meaning. My story, once a private agony, has garnered media attention. I've secured a documentary deal with Netflix, sharing my journey of betrayal and transformation, hoping it will empower others. I am no longer just Robert's wife or Victoria's mother. I am Margaret Sullivan, an independent, powerful woman who has reclaimed her life and found her voice. People ask if I will ever reconcile with Victoria. My answer remains firm, not until there is a profound, genuine transformation within her. True family is not merely about blood. It is about respect, protection, and unconditional support. Until Victoria understands that, my door remains closed. My peace, my purpose, and my dignity are too precious to compromise. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.